Good evening. We'd like to welcome everyone on this 20th day of March to the Richmond Planning and Zoning Commissioners meeting. Clerk, you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Shue?
Here.
Commissioner Francis?
Here.
Commissioner Short?
Here.
Commissioner Miller?
Here.
Commissioner Perkins? Commissioner Miles?
Here.
Commissioner Estelle?
Here. If everyone's had time to look over the minutes from February the 21st, if so, I'd like to get a motion on that, please.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of February 21, 2024.
Second?
Commissioner Shue?
Yes.
Commissioner Francis?
Yes.
Commissioner Short?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Miles?
Yes.
Commissioner Estelle?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Looks so good. Next on the agenda, which will be a public hearing, the zone map amendment from, is it McKeish? Okay. McKeish Patel, property located at 814 Heath Street, currently zone I-2, proposed zone B3.
Mr. Stone has the map of this area on the board there, but I had one that's marked and shows the existing zoning around it that I would like to circulate as well, might be helpful in looking at. Sure you don't mind to take this one down.
Okay.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Just get those.
Thank you, sir. Come on ahead, show right here, Dr.
Thank you. Need one more? Got enough?
Yeah.
The property that we're talking about on what I've handed out there is 814 Heath Street, and that is basically on the screen what you see in green there, except for the property that's at the corner of Heath and Estill Avenue. That's a towing company that's back there. There we go. Now in blue is the property that we're talking about. When I was growing up here, there was an ice plant on that property that fronted on Heath Street. Mr. Patel, who the applicant, has bought this. It's currently zoned I-2. He would like to put it to business use and is therefore asking that it be converted to B3. As you can see on the map that I've circulated across Big Hill Avenue, that property is zoned B3. That's where the tobacco warehouses were that have been torn down in the last few years. And now on one of those lots, there's a granite shop. Across Heath Street is currently zoned B1. There's a car lot and some other things across there. Behind us is an I-2 zone. That's the concrete plant. And then to the left of us, if you're facing the property from Big Hill Avenue, is B3 and R2. As you all already know, I-2 is the zone where heavy industrial production goes and basically anything else that nobody wants to be in their area. We don't think that's appropriate for this area anymore. At one time, this was probably kind of the end of the city limits. In fact, my memory is that across the street there was a bar called The Last Chance. And that was the last place that you could get alcohol between here and Tennessee. So we know things have changed dramatically since that was gone. We think this area has transitioned into a business area with the clothing shops, the car lot, the granite shops, a chiropractor's office, some of those kind of things in this area. So what we're asking is just that we convert this from I-2 to B3.
And the commissioners got any questions?
I'm just basically surprised that 302 is still I-2.
I was as well, Dr. Short, when I saw that. And that's where the sign shop is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Can we ask what purpose is he looking to start up?
Additionally, Mr. Patel would like to construct a convenience store on there. It is about a 5-acre parcel of land, so that certainly would not use all the property, but that would be his initial intent, to construct a convenience store on the property.
Have they gone through any planning to start the process of building as far as entrance for traffic flow?
We have not had a traffic study done. and have not begun the process of planning the construction process. Generally, that doesn't occur until this step, and then, based upon what you all determine, then we'll begin figuring out what we can do with the property based on that zone or not. And certainly, the planning office here in the city will be an integral part of that. We'll have to submit a development plan. We'll have to get applications for access to the road because that's US 25, a federal highway. So all of that will be monitored extremely closely, but we have not started that process yet.
So tonight, we only considering change it from I-2 to B3, right?
That's correct.
Just any more comments?
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, that's a story right there.
Yeah.
I'll have a seat. You just let me know if you have other questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
If not, is there a motion on there? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Do we have, this being public, is there anyone here that's against it?
Mr. Commissioner, if I may.
Yeah.
Corey Isaacs on behalf of Bluegrass Marble and Granite, which is located directly across the street. Kevin Guzman, who is the principal member, he obtained my services to say that he has no objection.
Okay.
The idea is it's a big old vacant lot, and he'd love to have something there, and
Yeah. You made it.
he had no problem with somebody else putting a business there, for whatever extent that's worth. I think I've checked the box and done my job. I thank y'all for
Okay.
listening on that.
Is there anyone else? Come state your name, please.
My name is Jason Freeman. I own the sign company on the corner.
I'm sorry, again.
My name is Jason Freeman. I own the sign company on the corner right there. My only concern would be if they do develop that lot, and I'm all for it because I hate having an unfinished lot next to me, but Heath Street's a very, very small street, and they don't maintain it very well. It took forever just to get it paved. If they were to make an access off of Heath Street, it would not be a good thing. We would have a lot of wrecks. There's big, heavy equipment that come in and out of that road all the time because there's a concrete plant and there's a feed store around the corner. And like one of my safety meetings that I have with my employees all the time is to be careful walking across that road because those trucks just come barreling around that corner. So if they were, I would just ask that we do something to improve the Heath Street if they allow that to be an access. But other than that, I'm all for it too.
Is there anyone else? If not, I'll get a motion on it, please.
Okay. I make the motion that we turn 814 Heath from I-2 to B3.
Second.
Commissioner Shue,
Yes.
Commissioner Francis,
Yes.
Commissioner Short,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miles,
Yes.
Commissioner Estelle.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you all. Next on the agenda is a zone map amendment for Leslie P. and Brenda K. Renfro, property located at 735 Tile Drive, currently zone R1C, proposed zone AG.
Before we get started, can I say something? Why is this on the agenda? Because it violates our comprehensive plan and it violates our development ordinance. We couldn't pass this, we could pass it, but it's very unlikely that we would because it violates it. To make them pay the amount and come up here and talk about it doesn't make any sense. In fact,
I don't necessarily.
I went out there and I talked to these people that have the R1C housing. And they said that you all didn't let them develop it, that one little section there, because of the fact there were too many houses. So even if you wanted to make it R something, you couldn't, because there's not anything. It's going to be hard to justify agriculture. So what could you put on that lot unless you let him build some more houses?
Yeah. Well, To answer the question on the lot is actually, it has a note on the plat, no future development on the lot. And right, it was part of that overall development, is the reason why that tract is R1C. Originally, there was a connection, and you may remember this, but Tower Drive and whatever that other cul-de-sac is, there was actually a connection. So they wanted to change that. They didn't want to build that due to some topography, so they changed, so they requested that change, and that's how that large lot was created essentially. So they basically made an agreement, the developer did, that would be a remainder tract that would have no future development because they didn't want that, to build that connection.
But there are subdivisions that got far more housing than they got.
Yeah. Well, from here to here had a connection. And the developer came back and wanted to change that. And so they took this connection out, and this just basically became a large tract. And it has a note on it. Now, this is outside of any HOA restrictions or anything, but a note on no future development. And,
Why?
so right now, originally, this whole tract was all R1C. And so what they're requesting tonight, for whatever reason, I'm assuming they'll explain it, is to take this back to agriculture.
So you can't say that you wouldn't allow R1C there.
I'm sorry?
Would you allow R1C to be built there?
We would allow one house. Yeah.
One house.
Because they only have this road frontage.
No, but I bought the property, I wanted to build houses there. Couldn't I build houses there?
No. You only have this road frontage, and that was part of the agreement, and there's a detention pond here that actually flows through here. So this, you can basically have one house on this tract.
Okay.
One house for that entire blue area.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was basically what I was told by the developer, and that's how we ended up with the no future development. It's not supposed to be subdivided or anything like that any further. Because this is the only road frontage here, 50 feet right here. So if you try to come in and subdivide it, that'd be your issue.
So you're saying the reason you don't want any more housing there is because you only got the one exit?
Yeah. And all the infrastructure and everything is here. But yes, and that was what the developer wanted to do. And that's how it ended up. And so since that time, they sold it, and I'm not sure if people had an understanding of what they could do and couldn't do with it, and they wanted to divide it and some other things, and then it created essentially, like, if you divide it, you have a landlocked tract, because this is the only road frontage. So that's where we're at, and back to your original question, no, I guess it's not something that I've been involved in to take something back to agriculture. But I don't know if maybe they have a
Well,
reason.
according to the city, you can't do that.
Yeah. No, I'm not disputing that.
What was that, Dr. Miller?
Ever since I've been on this committee, they say that to do agriculture, like for instance, if you want to annex something in, for us to have an agricultural area in the county, it's only temporarily an agricultural area. It's really not a zone, what they've always told me. That what it really is a holding spot for a business or a house or whatever. So when you say you want to go from R1C to agriculture, that violates really the development ordinance. It really does. It violates that. So I'm not sure why they didn't let you know that wasn't a problem, because it states it in the development ordinance that it's a holding position for you to develop R1C housing or some other kind of housing or some other problem. And I'm not really sure why they landlocked that whole area. I mean, that's a big area. Why would you landlock that? I mean, whoever has it should be allowed to get an entrance to it, develop what they want to develop, do all that kind of thing, but to landlock that much area and then say you're going to put an agriculture behind R1C housing doesn't even fit.
I think I remember when they first started developing it, there was a question on some of that land that they weren't going to use because they had doubts themselves that if they were going to use it or not. And I remember when that was for, they brought everything into it, there was certain part of the land that they wasn't gonna use on there, and I guess that's the part right there that they were talking about.
Because the
The
city
developer.
doesn't, the city doesn't want to have agriculture. It wants density.
Well, if I may, I know we kind of went at this a little different.
I know, I just brought it up because
No,
of
no,
that.
it's
I was
all fair.
surprised it was on the agenda because it violates several,
Well, I mean, I think everybody gets a shot at it. Due process.
I don't
Says that,
disagree.
you know,
I
our
think you should
Constitution
present, I think
promises
you
me
should
I
give
get
it
a
a
shot.
whirl to see what you can do.
However, it also promises me that you haven't made your mind up yet. So I get a shot to bend your ear a little bit. We have 27 acres. And that 27 acres, if, Mr. Stone, if you can help me with the mouse, if you can go to that corner, and actually, I'll just head that way. So as the land lays, there's what I would refer to as a holler here, and it comes back around. It's not built, but it was a part of the tract in which the developer purchased, and the developer made a subdivision. Looking at it, the developer also had the forethought, it's not subject to any restrictions of the neighborhood. The restrictive covenants of this neighborhood specifically exclude this area. What else am I gonna do with it? It's part of this tract. I gotta do something with it. So I cut it off, and I leave it here, and I say on the plat, do you have Mr. Stone, do you have the plat to blow up here? I think it's a part of the packet. But on the plat itself, it very specifically states no further development. That doesn't mean it's not allowed to have a house. Doesn't mean it's not allowed to have anything else. That very specifically means that I'm not allowed to chop it up and make other lots. That's not what we're asking for. My client owns the house on the rear road, right at the very bottom right. He bought 27 acres in his back door, and he wants a couple horses.
If you
He
would,
wants,
yeah, mark where his house
Yeah,
is on
no
there.
problem.
If you would, please, thank
yeah.
you.
Actually, Leslie, Mr. Renfro, come up here. Mr. Leslie Renfro, he is my client in this matter. Which one of those is your house?
This right here, always the main road,
Max.
straight up here, and it comes right here, and this is my, these are my house right here, my land right here.
Right. So he owns land right in front of it. He bought it with the idea of, well, I'm gonna get 27 acres behind my house. And I got a young child that they take care of, and that little boy wants a pony. And he wants a barn, and what else is the land gonna be good for? Now, Mr. Renfro, also, he mows the entire place. And also, I'm gonna keep on walking back and forth, but there's a tract right here that's owned by the HOA. Right, the HOA for this entire subdivision, this land, I would imagine it's probably a little wet, it's for a retention area. Mr. Renfro mows it, he bush hogs it because he bush hogs the rest of the farm. He knocks that out for him. He's not able to have the horse and the barn that he wants because it's within the city limits and it's not zoned agricultural. Now, respectfully, Dr. Miller, I'll disagree with you because agriculturally zoned property within the comprehensive plan serves to designate areas that are to remain in their current use. You can't do anything else other than put a single house on that. Per the plat, which was accepted and approved by the city commission, they can only do one house on that. 27 acres of one house. That's agricultural. By the very nature of the size of the property, that's agricultural. Now, it can't be used in any other capacity other than to put the house. Now, what we're saying is we're fighting over a pony. That's what I'm here asking you for. If it's designated as residential, I can't have a pony. Now, I don't know what's going to eat all that grass. I don't know what's going to walk around, and there will be a fence. Is there a fence, Mr. Renfro?
Partially, although just finished part of it.
Before the pony gets there, I'm going to have a fence. Promise that. However, the idea of any comprehensive plan. Property is unique. God's not making any more of it. What else am I going to use it for? It's 27 acres. Quite simply, what we're asking for is to designate it as the character, which is very much a justifiable reason for you all to agree to allow it to be agricultural. And importantly, Mr. Stone, if you can, kind of scroll up. Go south, please. On this side, we're not going to offend anybody.
They're all dead.
Well, I mean, somebody's alive. And even if we were, I promise you they wouldn't care because there's not a house there. It's all agricultural land going this way. Now, this was annexed in to the city, right? So it was county prior to the annexation.
How close are those houses right there
behind it.
that he wants, that he's purchased? In the blue?
In the book.
Yeah,
That-
those
that's
cut-
all, that entire blue area?
No, I'm talking about the houses, is the houses in the yellow right there?
Oh, yes, sir. And
Are they right on the fence line, are they right?
No, I don't think it's fair to say right on the fence line. Some of the ones in the middle there probably are closer than the other ones. On the far left, they're farther to the road. But in the middle, yeah, I mean, I would say they're closer. Those lots aren't very big. It's in a cul-de-sac. So yeah, I would say that, yeah, those are
But I mean,
fairly close.
their backyards and everything would be right up to that, right?
Right up to the fence, and that fence would occur regardless of zoning.
I don't think any resident of the subdivision would mind having a
Well,
field behind them. Is it going to be an electric fence or just, that would be the only danger for
It would probably a wood fence.
Woodinville? Yeah.
It'd be pretty. And there's two folks back here in the back, and I spoke to them earlier. Mr. and Ms. Vault, they're residents of the subdivision, and the city complied with all the statutes and sent mail to everybody who touches this area. And believe it or not, it's a substantial number. If you start at the bottom left-hand corner of that blue and go all the way around, there's a lot of people that touch it. There's only 2 people here, and they come from a single household. And I don't mean to speak for them, but they said, is it a pig farm? It's not a pig farm. And if you want to put a restriction on it, say it can't be a pig farm, we don't. He owns the property right in front. He doesn't want a pig farm either. Quite simply, we have 27 acres that, pursuant to the plat restrictive covenants, can only allow, it shall not be subdivided again, and can only allow for a single-family residence.
Are you still going to keep the entrance between the two R1C houses?
I don't understand your question.
Well, right now, between the two houses on either side, you have an entrance coming from,
Oh, yeah, well, of course. I mean, the petition has no bearing on any other property other than the property in blue.
well, I understand that.
There's no bearing.
But it does have bearing between those two houses, because you can drive cattle through there, you can do whatever you need to do, tractors, et cetera, if you're going to have that one area. And you really,
Sure.
you really interrupted
If
between.
he's figured out a way to farm 80 head of cattle on 30 acres, we're doing great. However, that's impossible.
But if I had R1 housing, I wouldn't want,
Then I would assure you would show up and voice your opinion. However,
I
no
wouldn't
one's here.
want a road between the houses.
We can't have a real farm on this. It's impossible. I've farmed my entire life. It's impossible. This is a hobby farm at best. However, he wants a pony for the little boy. And absent this zone change, we can't have that. And if you think for 1 minute that we can put 80 head of cattle on there,
I didn't say 80 head.
Yeah, but you can background a lot on that.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can. I mean, you put a bunch of feeders on there, you could background a bunch.
you think you can put 40 on it?
You can put 80.
Nah,
Yes,
I
you
couldn't do it.
could.
I couldn't do it.
Well, that's because you're not a farmer.
Well, you've got that
Been a farmer
exit
my whole
there.
life.
Do
You'll
you
run it
farm
right
now?
between the
Yeah.
houses.
Do you really?
Got 30,
You got 30
Cow-calf.
what? Well, what size is your whole farm?
60,
You're
491
still
half
hobby
high.
farming. But
Ultimately,
it's
that's not
possible that you can put more on there. I'm just pointing it out. You know, he doesn't want to do that.
He don't
But
wanna do
if, you know, he decides he wants to sell, then it's going to be that ag, and somebody could come in there and do that.
Restrict it. We just want pony.
Yeah, that's my
That
only
may be what you
concern.
have to do, yeah.
Yeah,
That's my only
restrict it.
concern of it is that, right now, all I want is a pony. And then all of a sudden, we're gonna have chickens, we're gonna have
And that's,
pigs and everything else there.
and that's a very fair
And it's
statement.
gonna be an inconvenience for those
Because of the
people
smell.
in their backyard right there. That's my only concern
And
with
very
it right
fair,
now.
but their neighbors all around it, if they could do it, they could absolutely do it.
It's right behind, and the road goes between.
Ultimately, 27 acres, that's only allowed one house, does not support the comprehensive plan for use
Okay.
of our lands.
Yeah.
By keeping it with one house on it, that's all you're allowed to build. What else you gonna do with the rest of it? And the
Man.
comprehensive plan requires me to ask that question. What else can we do with it? One house is only gonna be so many places. And kind of the hill and the holler there in the middle, land is supposed to be used, supposed to benefit the people and the city and the county in which it lays. And if there's only one house on that, there's no benefit for the remaining, what? You want to put a house on an acre or 2 acres? Let's call it 5. What else is the rest for? And there's no other answer.
Since you mentioned that, that was the question with the developers, because they said there was hills and hollows and they wouldn't be able to develop it at all.
Correct. There's nothing else we can do there.
Well, I agree, but I just have a concern of what could go on there and what will go on there if he sells it or whatever, if there's no restrictions on it.
Well, you can add restrictions and
Well,
do it. We're telling you what we want. And we're happy to oblige by them.
When it's in this, when it's in the city limits, aren't there certain restrictions as to how many animals?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's fair for me to answer that because the restrictions, we can have chickens, right? But we can't have cows unless it's zoned agricultural. And the comprehensive plan very specifically states that agricultural land is, and I'm gonna read it off my statement here, to remain in its current use or where no urbanization is planned to occur. This commission approved a plat from planning and zoning, and that plat very specifically stated no additional development. Not allowed to do anything else other than one house. And if no urbanization can occur on 27 acres, nothing but one house, then very specifically, no more urbanization can occur. Period. Therefore, it shall remain in its current use other than one house.
what kind of restrictions could you put on something like that?
We'll agree to whatever.
Well, let me throw this out real quick. As with all zone changes, I almost brought it up with the last one, but I didn't necessarily think it made much difference. But the thing to keep in mind with the zone change is the permitted uses for that zone. So when you consider a zone change, you have to consider, as some of you all mentioned, that whatever is permitted, a permissible use, may apply there. You know, they may, if a zone change goes to B3, well, all those uses need to be considered regardless of what they say they're gonna do, because they may not do anything and sell the land, and then somebody else can put whatever there that's permitted. So in regards to the restrictions, I do think that's a good avenue, because you have agriculture, that's why Mr. Stone put this in your packet. So as you look at agriculture zone, all the under the A there, all the Ps mean that is what you can do on that land. So that would be permitted without a land use restriction, which is kind of, I think, where we're headed. And also, under allowable uses under residential, if it goes ag, there's some other ones listed. But
We don't have that sheet.
Oh, okay. I thought he gave it to you. So it is something, and I'll leave this up to Mr. Isaacs if, how he wants to handle it, but if you are concerned about some of these other uses or chickens or whatever you were just talking about, you have the potential to, if they'll agree to it or bring something up, to put a land use restriction on it, as in it will be used for a barn and 2 horses. I mean, you can do that and it'll be recorded.
And if I may interrupt,
Yeah, sure.
we're happy to propose restrictions. And then you can say, no, I don't like that one, I like this one.
So that is an option, and that used to occur, I think, a lot more. We've sort of gotten away from it some now. So the way to consider it, I'm probably repeating myself some, but you either look at it like all those uses that are listed there are a possibility, or put a land use restriction on it that if you're good with the use that they're recommending. So if it's 2 horses and a certain size barn or something like that, that would be recorded, and that would all, and then if they go beyond that or violate that, then it would basically, it's kind of like a conditional use. It would revert back.
Now, if somebody bought it in the future, could they come back and have it and ask for for change in the conditional use?
They could, but it would come back to this body.
Right, okay, and that's fine. Okay.
So I'll propose this. If you wish to table it, allow me to propose restrictions. I'll work with Mr. Frazier, and I'll give restrictions, and Mr. Frazier and I can work together and then present it back, and we'll come back before you, and I'll then ask for a motion and a vote there. But I think procedurally table it if that's what you're willing to do.
Is there a
Yes.
way that she can get from his house to the property?
He walks out his back door.
Yeah.
Huh?
He walks out his back door.
That's what I thought. So it would be much better to me if you didn't have the entrance on the other side.
Well, there's so much that makes that impossibility.
Why?
I think we can have some proposed restrictions if we want to go down that avenue and approach that topic then about
Sure, yeah.
entrances with trailers and things of that nature.
Right. But this body nor I have the ability to amend a subdivision that's been accepted and recorded. I can't change the way that looks, nor can this body. That subdivision looks the same way on a plat. That plat was accepted through planning and zoning. The city commission accepted that plat after the developmental stage. That's what it looks like. And there's no unilateral change from that. That driveway will be there on that plat, period. Now, Mr. Frazier and I can work together on restrictions. We're not gonna bring in cows that way. And we're not gonna bring in horses that way.
Alluding to is the fact that you've been working this for.
All I've been able to do is mow it and keep it clean.
Right, but
That's
your
all.
impact that you're doing now is pretty much the impact you'll be doing in the future, I mean, in a sense.
I'm not a big-time farmer,
Yeah,
you know, I'm not gonna be no big-time farmer. But there's cattle all around it, even on the subdivision over here on this backside, the Clarks owns all that. That's all farmland. It was all farmland before until it was annexed into the city. And then they didn't build on that part because they only said they only had one entrance.
Is there industrial land to the north?
There is the tri-state trucking, it sits up next to the main road.
Yeah, the big green spot just to the right of the
No,
blue.
that's farmland.
No,
And there,
To the right of the blue on this, I gotta go back over here.
well, to the south of that
There's
would be,
steps
What's this right here?
that is tri-state trucking.
So, yeah, all right.
The old drive-in movie theater, wasn't it?
Yes.
Is that right? Wow.
And then if, Mr. So if you can't go up, everything down here is all agricultural, right?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Stumpf, if we can go that way. What's up there? What's all that?
There's a trailer park up there, and then it goes into factories like.
Goes into industrial, right?
Yeah,
There's a concrete plant up there?
yes.
Well, my only concern is, if we have to table it, is that we can study on it and make sure that there's no inconvenience to those other people that has homes there. Because I know, in fact, there's a situation going on now, the same thing that's happened. They have actually got a hog farm, and there ain't nothing they can do about it. So I think whatever we do here tonight, we need to get it right if it calls for us to table it. And Mr. Frazier and
Yeah,
him
no,
can
let's
work
do
it
it right,
out.
no.
I mean, that's just the
There's
way
no
I
hiding
see
the
it.
ball here, full disclosure. It's a lot of land he can't use.
Well, I mean, understand, I'm not against
Yeah.
farmland or
Well, let's do it
farming,
right.
but you got consideration of people right there, you know, around it, and
I
so
would
we
agree
need,
with you.
you know, I just think we need to get it right, whatever we're gonna do, and we have to table it.
And there's a couple more folks here now than there was before, but I spoke with the only individuals that were in the galley prior before taking the microphone today, and they're the only residents now. The city sent letters to every single person there. And the fact that only 2 folks showed up now, these 2 folks may be here on it, and they may have different opinions, but those 2 folks that were here, that lived there, and they can come up here and they can tell you all about it, but they didn't have an objection.
Well, could we not just make a motion to accept it,
You know,
going,
since you've
reverting
been
back to
taking care of this,
agricultural with
He's
the
been
provision
mowing,
You know, as far
and
as-
mowing the extra
for
part too.
I know.
a
But
barn
my big
and
thing is like,
no
you
more
know,
than
that you're
5
doing it
horses.
now. Of course, your biggest thing, you're to be taking a tractor and a bush hog in
Okay.
there.
Wouldn't that-
And so,
Can you think of any problem with that?
do you mainly go in from your house end, or do you have to use the drive-in?
Yeah, I do, yeah, because I have excess all across there, yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm not concerned really with what he's going to use it for. I think it will be fine. But
Yeah.
the problem is, I've seen on this committee so many times that when he moves, they're going to try to put something there. And if it's agricultural, they're going to do it.
Put that restrictions, if we can put
Unless you
that
put
on.
some
Yeah,
strong
we'll
restrictions
we'll
on it.
work on that.
And then that's got to be followed up, and everybody needs to know about the restrictions.
Well, can we get a motion on tabling, or? And then we can-
I would motion that we accept the change with the provision of making it agricultural, with the provision that he can build, but would be restricted to no more than 5 horses and a barn.
No, we need more than that.
We need
We
more
need,
than
we
that.
need, we need to be looking at this a little bit finer than I think.
Okay.
I think you've kind of opened things
I
up.
make a motion to table this
Yeah,
and let the attorneys work together on the types of restrictions and come back to the next meeting
resubmit it, yeah.
and resubmit it. And I'll tell you this, I would like to wake up and see horses in my backyard.
Yeah.
Especially
Okay.
ones you don't have to take care
If that
of,
was all was
right?
ever
Right,
on
right.
there.
That's even better.
I just soon go to Kingland and bet on it.
That's right.
And it's not a huge surprise, I don't think. Of course, the people that are here will tell us if they are surprised. But, you know, basically, when this subdivision was done, this has always been open field, basically. So it's going to be open field, it's going to be, continue to be mowed and maintained with a low impact if we can get our restrictions and stuff together. And I don't see any big problem. We just, I think, I agree with Dr. Miller, we want to make sure that we've got it so that if heaven forbids, you just say, well, I'm walking away from it, I'm going to sell it, and something else could come in. So,
I'm a gentleman that kept, even with the subdivision is when it's farmland, I kept all that clean and mowed up the bush hog. Yeah, sure. For 20 years.
Dr. Short, was that a second to that motion?
that's the second.
Well, we got
Yes,
Wait a
sir.
minute,
public
is
hearing.
there someone here that wants to speak for it or against it? Let's slow down. Give your name.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Zadana Slay. I'm a resident in the Orchid Hills subdivision, and my property actually is on Tower Drive, and so it's right at the entrance to that easement. And so for me, as a transplant of Richmond, Kentucky, I do have concerns regarding the agriculture. With the restrictions, I just want to know, will there be any attempt to have input or discussion or somewhat with the residents? Because again, a horse is beautiful, but I'm also thinking I will probably not retire here in Richmond, so I'm thinking of resale value, things of that nature. So will a horse be up and down the easement? Will it be agriculture cannot come within so many feet of the property line because my home is not fenced in? What happens if anything jumps over? I'm also thinking of those concerns in terms of safety as well. And so there are kids who use that area in dirt bikes, so there will definitely need to be some safety things in terms of fencing, security, some signage, or anything like that as well, because it has been an open, I moved into that property in June 2021, so before actually the rest of the homes were built around the cul-de-sac. So it's become like an open play area, people walk their dogs. So I'm also thinking of long-term, if it is sold or not, just some safety things as well, signage, fencing, whatever, because of the kids who dirt bike and other things. So just wanted to think of that. And again, if there are opportunities to engage with the community, I know it's a low turnout, but I'm actually on that street, and so I would like to be engaged if there are opportunities. So,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone else? State your name, please.
My name is Greg Anniscavige, and I live right on, my backyard looks right onto that property. When we bought the house, we were told that it's zoned specifically for one house and one house only, and that's why we bought it. Your concerns about should something happen to them, what does it turn into, and how do you restrict it? If you don't restrict it now and keep it to what it was, we have no guarantee for anything in the. So I want it to stay the way it was zoned when we bought it. Same types of concerns she has. Other thing is, there's only one road in and out of that place. And with all that traffic on that road, depending on what kind of agriculture comes in there, it's almost impossible to get in and out safely without a traffic light or a stop sign or something there. So I would just like to see it stay the same zoning it is.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Can we get a motion on that
I
then,
think we already did.
David?
Dr. Shu, you had the motion, and Dr. Shu,
I-
Mr. Shu, you had the motion.
Okay.
Okay.
I seconded it, yes.
Commissioner Shu? Yes. Commissioner Francis?
Yes.
Commissioner Short?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Miles?
Yes.
Commissioner Sell?
Yes.
Thank you. It is tabled.
And the only thing, if I can add something to that, we will send out notifications to all
Sure.
the property adjoiners
Sure.
again. Now, and just so we're clear, that means the people that adjoin the property get notified, so not everyone in that
Yeah,
subdivision.
just the people that join it
Yeah.
right there.
Correct.
Okay, and then, anyway, and the only other thing to point out, this is all county land.
Yeah.
So that's one difference, so just
Okay.
put that out there. So that's why the entrance and things like that's important, that goes into that subdivision. Okay, that's all I got.
Okay. Thank you all.
And please come back, when we have our next meeting and make sure that your concerns are there. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is other business.
Oh, the only thing that I have is since you approved the minutes tonight, that has the amendment to the sign ordinance. So the sign ordinance will be moving forward. I'm not sure if it'll be on the next planning, it'll be on the next city commission agenda then. So that'll be the first reading for the new sign ordinance. Assuming that goes well, then the following meeting, there'll be a second reading, then it'll be effective. Other
Okay.
than that, that's all I have.
Got
How are we doing on those other areas that, that are line of credit, stuff like that are still pending?
We're still working with all those groups, and we should be able to have you report at the next one. We have some bonds and things that have come up for renewal that are way past the date, but for the most part, we've gotten some attention.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
You need to get them off the books, you really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, it has garnered some attention. So
Direct-
I think we'll get some of that completed.
Director's report.
That's all I have.
Someone else say anything?
I'll make a
Get a motion
to
for
adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All along, we said that we don't want agricultural in cities. And this here really kind of intimates that some of the property to get it off.